You call yourself a man? You know you're a lying, low-life, motherfucking gambling degenerate prick. You know that's what you are?
Well, hello, you degenerate fucks, and welcome to the Degenerate Gambler. It is Thursday, the 2nd of June, just here with the season review episode. So, another season over, Champions League final at the weekend. Uh, Real Madrid win 1-0. Liverpool probably, well, they had the most chances, probably the better team. My big bet that I done on that game was £20 on Trent to be booked. He did have a few fouls, probably count himself a bit lucky not to get booked, but wasn't to be. So, as I say, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through these outright bets, my profit loss, etc. Um, then I'll probably take next week off, have a wee week break, and then I'll be back with some episodes in the off season, just talking about different things, how I'm going to do my profit loss for next year, other things like bet syndicates, stuff like that, outright bets. Um, I'm hoping to get some of my sort of my friends online, my Twitter punters, to send me wee messages about how they view outright betting, whether they like it, don't like it, why they like it, why they don't like it, would they consider it in the future. Just to sort of get other people's opinions on outright betting. And then I'll be doing also a video coming up to the start of next season for how I picked my bets. Um, I'll be doing a video that goes along with the podcast, and there'll probably be a couple of episodes on what I'm looking at for outright. So how I pick my teams, how I pick my teams for promotion, etc., etc. So that's what's coming in the future weeks. Instead of having 5 or 6 weeks until the new season, I think it's actually 8 weeks with nothing. I'll try and fill that gap as best I can with some decent content. I think today was actually just announced that the Charity Shield, the Community Shield, whatever you want to call it, is on the 30th of July. So that's the first football fixture for next season. So that's the first thing we'll have to look forward to. So now that it's June, that doesn't seem so far away. So anyway, looking at so before even going into profit loss, so I did have a good season. I had a pretty bad end of the season because I didn't have a bet up for a few weeks towards the end of the season there. Um, in total, I had 82 winners, which is decent. Some of them were small. Some of them were only those special bets where it's only a tenner maximum bet. But 82 winners isn't bad. So anyway, I'll get into that. So profit loss. So last season I bet £2,835, which is a pretty big amount. Uh, in winnings, I had £4,526. So that's a total profit of £1,691. So listen, you're not gonna, it's not gonna buy you a new car, or maybe it might take you on holiday, but that to me is a decent profit. Over 1,500, getting closer to 1,700. I'm pretty pleased with that, especially after the season before, the whole COVID season, where I lost, I think, £300. So it's a big improvement. It's basically 2,000 improvement on last year. Um, Even last year's 300 loss, yeah, it's not great, but I still wasn't, too upset. Well, obviously upset that I didn't win money, but you can't win every year gambling. And at a £300 loss over a 40-week season, it's less than £10 a week. So, people have hobbies, people have interests that cost a lot more than that. So for me, that was, acceptable. Not that I would want to do that every year, but you know, this year to turn that round and go from a 300 minus 300 to plus basically 1,700. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. So, um, yeah, so I'll get on to the outright bet. So the first outright bet I did last year was kind of a weird one because it was only two picks that were for the season, and then I had Chelsea to win the was it the Super Cup when they played Villarreal, and then I had Bayern Munich to win their domestic cup because or their Super Cup, whatever you call it, their basically their charity shield. Um, and it didn't do them to actually lift the cup. It done them to win the games, and that's that they were both beaten. So Chelsea drew obviously, and then ended up winning the cup. Munich did win theirs. Um, the other selections were in that were Palace to be relegated, which now looking back looks like a pretty naive pick, but um, they were 12th in the league. But I think at the start of the season, with Vieira going in there being unproven in the English league, it wasn't a bad shout. Middlesbrough back to be top six. They were seventh, only 5 points away from the playoffs. And Tranmere top seven. They were ninth. They were only 2 points below seventh. So, you know, all of them are wrong. So I can't really say it was a good bet, but, you know, there was a couple there that were unlucky. So move on to the next one. It was Wrexham to be promoted. They actually got beat at the weekend there in the semi-final of the playoffs. So that was beat. West Ham or West Brom, sorry, be promoted to finish 10th, 8 points off the playoffs. They had a pretty poor season. They sacked the manager. So, you know, obviously when they're sacking their manager, they're not having a great season. So that one was beat. Rangers to win the league. They were second, only 4 points off Celtic. Uh, again, not a great pick. Leicester top six. Now, I looked for a way there that Leicester would be nowhere near the top six, but they actually finished eighth, and they were only 6 points behind sixth place. So again, not up, but you know, got a sweat out of it. And then Juventus, this is a big one. Really fancy Juventus to win the league last year. After they didn't win it the season before, you thought they're going to come back here with, you know, renewed vigor to win the league. But they ended up finishing fourth. They had a poor season, 16 points below AC Milan, who won the league. So that one was all five selections terrible. Next one was I think I only did because that last one I think I did for £10 or £20. This one was only for a fiver, but it actually came closest out of these three. So it Clues to win the league. It did by 1 point. Villa top 10. Obviously they sacked their manager and brought in Steven Gerrard, so that's why that probably didn't go well. They obviously didn't have a good start to the season. But Villa top 10, they actually finished 14th and they were 6 points below 10th. Now when they did bring Steven Gerrard in, they did get themselves into the top half, but then Gerrard had a poor end of the season. Salford to be promoted, I think we all found out because I think a lot of us fancied Salford. A lot of us were back in Salford just to win games at the start of the season, and then it became evident pretty quickly that they were very, very inconsistent. So they finished actually 10th, 7 points below the playoffs. Again, Salford is another team I would definitely look at again next year because if they don't sack the manager, give the guy another year, obviously they've got the money. You know, they might have a good chance of getting the playoffs next year again. Next one was Ajax to win the league. They did by 2 points. Sheffield United to finish in the top six. They did to finish fifth. Sheffield Wednesday in the top six. They did. They were fourth. Seville in the top four. They did. They were fourth. And then the worst pick of the lot, which was in the last 10 years, this pick would have been basically up, but it was Aberdeen to finish third, basically. So it was to win the league without Rangers and Celtic. So if they finished third and Rangers and Celtic above them, which were the top two, that would have been up. And they actually finished 10th place out of 12 teams. So they actually had a very, very poor season for Aberdeen, who are historically, you know, the third biggest club. Well, I don't know about biggest in the way of fan bases, but in the way of success and doing well. You know, Hearts had only came up a few years ago when they finished third this season. So yeah, that was a strange one, but look, it would have been beat on the Villa and Salford anyway. But out of how many is that? 8 selections, I had 5 up, so not bad. Lastly, I'll go on to the top goal scorers, which is again I'll always do this because you can get decent prices, and for a tenner you're getting over £1,000 back. I was on this if it had it touched. So at Ivan Toney to be Brentford's top goal scorer, he had 12. It was up. I had Bamford to be top goal scorer. He actually only played 9 games and scored 2 goals. So that one was down to injury. I think Rafinha was their top goal scorer, so that one was beat. Ali Watkins for Villa, and when I placed this, they hadn't bought Ings, so that looked like it could have been a potential banana skin that the buy Ings and he's their top goal scorer. But actually, Watkins was the top goal scorer with 11 goals. Next one was Calvert Levin. Again, he only had 17 appearances all season and scored 5 goals. So that one was beat by injury, basically. After that, we'll have Vardy, 15 goals. He was top goal scorer. Then we had Callum Wilson. He was up. He only had 8 goals, and he was out injured a brave while, but still managed to be Newcastle's top goal scorer with 8. Then I had Ings, who was at Southampton at the time, which was voided because obviously he moved to Villa. So that could have messed me up on 2 things. That it's void, and then he goes to Villa and beats the top goal scorer, and then that beats out Watkins, but didn't turn out that way. And then we had Salah, who was Liverpool's top goal scorer, 23 goals, actually joint top goal scorer in the league. And then another one is Pukki. We had Pukki, who had 11 goals and was Norwich's top goal scorer. And then the one that this is where I knew the bet was beat, even though the like of Bamford was out injured and Calvert Lewin was out injured. There was a chance to come back. They're going to get goals, etc., etc. But the one that I knew I was screwed from January was when Aubameyang went to Barcelona, because he had only scored 4 or 5 goals or something at the time, and then he gets sold. So that is a risk you take when you back goal scorers, that they are transfer, in, like I say, with Ings. I did that bet probably before August. The transfer window didn't close till a few weeks later. He ends up going from Southampton to Villa. Or with the Aubameyang, he's at Arsenal. He's basically down to tools, and they get rid of him and sell him loan him out in January. So yeah, what was that? How many beat me on that one? 3 on that one, and that was out of 10. So that was 7 selections correct. So again, not terrible, but no success with my outright bets. I am already looking at next year's, just teams who get promoted, etc., who have a good squad. Or I've actually looked at West Ham or Nice for the Europa Conference League next year, just off the top of my head. The reasons were obviously West Ham got to the semis of the Europa League, which is a bigger competition. It looks like they're going to keep Declan Rice potentially, so Moyes will always improve that squad. So they would be one of the favourites, I would say, for the Conference League. And also Nice. The reason I go with Nice is their manager, who took the job last season. The season before that, he was at Lille and he won the league. And then Nice, who are historically a big French club, haven't been great in the last few years. He goes there, looked like they made a qualify for the Champions League right up until the last 7, 8, maybe 9 weeks, when they had a poor run and ended up in the Europa Conference League. So he will improve that squad. He's obviously a proven manager in France. He's won the league with Lille, when PSG were spending all sorts of money. So yeah, I just think they would be a bit of a dark horse. I'll have to obviously wait and see what prices they are, but this is the kind of thing I'll be doing from now until the start of the season, looking at teams for whatever it may be, promotion, relegation, cup competitions, and looking at who they buy, who they sell, do they change manager, etc., etc. So that's basically it for today on this season. As I say, it's been a productive season, so I'm happy. If you're on any of my bets this year and you got some winners with me, happy days. Thanks for everybody for listening. As I say, I will take a 1 week break, and then the episodes will start fresh with season 3, episode 1. So this will be the last episode of season 2. So that's basically it. I would like to say, if you're doing a bet this weekend, good luck and happy punting. But there's nothing on, except for, actually, what I will say is, there's some decent horse racing coming up, so I probably will do some bets on the horses. But as you know, I follow other people's tips. I'm not a big horsey guy. I will post them, but that'll be the only bet you really get out of me over the summer. I'm not I don't really follow the Norwegian League or other leagues. So yeah, that'll be my last football bet. So any bets you are doing over the summer, whether it's foreign leagues, horses, whatever. Good luck and happy punting.
Here, get the fuck out of here. Yeah, thanks. Let me find out you fucked up. I'll leave you wherever I find you.